Hey guys, Josh here and welcome to my impressions video on the Destiny 2 beta. So Destiny 2 beta was over the last week. I didn't get to play it until like Saturday basically, because I was away the whole week. Even though I had early access for pre-ordering, I couldn't actually make use of that until it was open anyway. But anyway, jumped in. First impressions are it's a very limited beta compared to the one for Destiny 1. I remember Destiny 1's beta was crazy, because I'm not saying this is a bad thing, because I think Destiny 1's beta gave us too much. And in Destiny 1 we were given access to basically the whole of Earth. I remember we were given access to about a good 2 or 3 Crucible maps, a strike. We were given full access to the tower and leveling up to like level, I think it was 10 in the beta, and gear drops and all that, just and basically full access to like the first few hours of the game. And so because of that, it was very, when you did it again in the full release, it was like, oh okay, I'm playing through just the same content which I played to death in the beta. This time I think they learnt from that mistake and they haven't done that. What they've gone for instead is a very interesting way of doing it. Rather than giving you access to like a character which you level, and then like a character, you know, they go to the social hub and you have all your vendors and everything and leveling and stuff like that. What they've done is basically they give you access to a level 20 character, which I don't think is max, but basically they give you all the skills you want. So you have access to everything. You have access to all the skills in the skill trees, and yeah, so you just get to play around rather than having to level up. And you do get weapon drops, and you do get armor drops from the strike and multiplayer, but you don't necessarily level and kind of build a sort of sense of low loot drops. 'Cause I remember the beta was just loot drops everywhere, whereas this is you get them as rewards for doing activities. And so basically you start the game and you do like the first mission, which they showed off a few weeks ago at their press thing when they announced it properly, and they did all the gameplay and stuff like that, which we've seen enough times now, and they showed again at E3 and stuff like that. So you play through that, and then you get access to the director. You're in space and it looks really cool, and the ship looks really cool and nice, and then you get to have access to one of the strikes, which is the inverted spire, and 2 multiplayer modes, control, normal control, and this new mode called countdown, which is basically like search and destroy from COD. So yeah, they've got Trials of Cyrus is a big thing, so it's kind of a natural progression from that there'd be some kind of bomb arming thing. So let's touch on story first. Story, of course, is greatly improved over Destiny 1, certainly vanilla Destiny 1, even like DLC Destiny 1. It's greatly improved over that, because the DLC Taken King added so much in terms of the quest system, which wasn't there in vanilla. You just did missions, and you know, it added cutscenes and just a real sense of cool story and characters and stuff, which was just completely missing from vanilla Destiny when it came out. Destiny 2 builds on that even more. The cutscenes are even more epic and fucking badass. And even just in game, there's just more story stuff happening when you're actually walking around, and you get to see NPCs in game doing shit which you haven't had yet. I mean, you can see NPCs when you're in the tower in the first one, but you can never actually, you know, in a mission see Commander Zavala, and Ikora, and Cade, and Shaxx actually doing their thing fighting, and it's really cool. You can see them, they talk to you, interacting with you. It's fucking cool, really cool. You get to see, you know, the free Vanguard's doing their thing, their abilities. Zavala with his shield, Ikora with a Nova Bomb, and Cade with his golden gun. Very signature of the classes. Which it brings on my next point. Classes have changed. Basically, in the beta, you have 2 subclasses per class, which is what it was when vanilla came out. It seems weird they haven't really mentioned whether we're going to get that 3rd class, which they added in Taken King. And that, you know, the subclass, which was the Sith Lightning for the Warlock, and the Flaming Hammer for the Titan, and the bow for the Hunter, they're just kind of gone. And I'm wondering whether they're going to be in it or not, because it seemed weird that they give us a 1st subclass and then strip it back again for the sequel. But what we do have is reworked original subclasses. So your Void Walker, you know, your Nova Bomb's still there, although it's changed. The Nova Bomb's really slow now, and it tracks. It's massive, and it splits off and stuff like that when it explodes. And then rather than having a respawn on your Warlock Flame, instead you throw this like flame hammer down, well, flame sword, which is very much like the hammer, Your Titan has Fist of Havoc, which is basically the same, except now you can like do it multiple times. There's trees that do it multiple times but weaker, so you can sort of stomp 3-4 times. And you can skate around. The Titan does some weird shit, I don't fully know it. And then he has Sentinel, which instead of the bubble is now like a Captain America shield. He can bash people with and throw it around and stuff, which is pretty cool. And then the Hunter has their golden gun, of course, which you can tweak a bit. Rather than having like 2 or 3 shots depending on your tree, that's it. Basically you just have a time limit and you can just kind of pull the trigger as fast as you can. I've really tried hard and I think I could get about 5 shots off max, something like that, if you're really fast. So yeah, that's really cool and different. It's tweaks basically. It's more about speed. If you're really good with the trigger, you can do a fuck ton of damage. And of course the Hunter now has the pole dancer as it's going to be called, which is basically just a blade dancer with a pole. Tweaked a little bit, but very much similar. So they're kind of all similar but tweaked a bit and made slight changes. Basically each class has one of its subclasses changed fundamentally and the other one just tweaked a bit. But that's it in terms of classes. So on to weapons. Weapons have changed as well. You now have sort of 2 primaries and 1 sort of heavy, rather than a primary, special and heavy in Destiny 1. So you have like different, you can have like elemental primaries or energy primaries, and then kinetic, which is just like bullet versions. And so you can switch between the 2. So basically it's quite a cool, interesting thing, certainly for PvP. Certainly you can basically run around with like a pistol or revolver trying to get those headshots, and if things get a bit tense up close, just whip to like an SMG and up close and personal and blast them away. They've made things like shotguns, snipers, heavies now, or what are they called now? Super? I can't remember what they're called now. But basically, yeah, they're on the final slot now. So they're really kind of rarer, which makes them more powerful. But also in PvP balances it a bit, because you don't get people running around with fucking shotguns sliding around as often. It's a power weapon. That's it, power ammo. And they might kind of make like Halo a bit, basically, where basically the heavy ammo or power ammo drops randomly around the map. It's not like, it's more common. It's not like every like 5 minutes or whatever it was in Destiny 1 for the whole team. Basically now a little tiny ammo pack appears on the wall randomly like every minute or something like that, and basically whoever picks it up, it's just for them. So basically it is like a power weapon system from Halo, but it's like for whatever power weapon you have, you get ammo for, which is quite cool. So yeah, as well as like snipers, rocket launchers and shotguns, they've also got grenade launchers now, which are quite cool, and fusion rifles there as well. And so yeah, it's quite interesting, changes things up quite a bit, certainly for PvP. PvE, not so much, although it is cool to be able to, like I say, certainly for like mobs, when you got like loads of ads around, you kind of have like maybe a scout or something like that for shooting the boss in the head, and then you just switch to like an assault rifle or SMG just to mop up the ads. Quite cool, actually, changes it quite a bit in that regard. So that's pretty cool. In terms of like the feel of it, I think looking at the game on YouTube doesn't do any justice. People say it looks like a reskin of Destiny 1 in terms of just it's just new weapons, but it feels different when you're playing it. When you're actually playing it, it does feel like an improvement. It does feel, the movement feels different. They've got the ledge grabbing now. Weapons feel slightly different. Everything just feels a little bit different and improved from Destiny 1. It feels like a much more robust, solid version of which were already very good shoot mechanics. Bungie know how to do shooting, and they got it pretty damn spot on with Destiny anyway. So now there's improvement on that. So it's definitely a successor to Destiny in that regard. Moving on from the story, there then is the inverted spire strike. I forgot the name then, which is pretty cool. You go through this planet, I think it's called Nessus. It's like a moon of one of the planets. Looks really cool. And basically you're fighting through these Cabal and Fallen and Vex kind of chucked together. Really cool, interesting new mechanics in the thing that weren't in Destiny before. Like, for example, you have these sort of teleport things which you can launch around between areas. They sort of fly you through the air, which is quite cool. You have like this drill thing you have to dodge, which is pretty cool on this bit, and like this bit where like you have to hold off against enemies while it's activating, and then you move on to the boss at the end, which is pretty cool. The boss is like a free phase thing where basically when you're getting down to so much health, the floor breaks away and you go down to the next level, and then the bottom level. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Sort of mix and matches. They made the strikes feel a bit more kind of raidy with mechanics and stuff like that, more than ever, which they started doing with Taking King, and they've kind of improved on that a bit more. The one thing I did feel from it was the sense of scale. There's this bit where you're kind of walking up like just these muddy hills and that, and there's just enemies all over the place, and it's less kind of corridor and just big. You get a sense of being a lot more open. It feels like some of those levels in like Halo 3 when you just kind of went out on like the Warthog driving around, just big open levels with enemies to face. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I imagine it's going to be like that for a lot of it, certainly for like, you know, the main storyline as well, the open world stuff, and they said there's open world stuff to do, so yeah, that'll be pretty interesting how that plays out. Finally is the PvP side of it, the Crucible, of course, which I think is probably one of the biggest changes, most positive changes for me, is how fun the Crucible is now. I mean, I've had a love-hate relationship with the Crucible. When you're doing good in Crucible, you feel amazing, and when you do bad, you feel absolutely shit because you're just not doing well at all. I think they've really focused a lot on it this time to really try and hit that now hard and try and get it feeling spot on. Bungie were like the kings of multiplayer shooters with Halo, and they kind of lost it a little bit with Destiny 1 a little bit. I mean, the Crucible was fun, like I said, it was fun, but I could never really take it seriously because you had issues with connection, there were slight imbalances that they never quite got right. Every time they tried to patch one thing, something else would get affected, and it was just kind of, yeah, it was weird. And I think they've hit a nice balance between PvE and PvP. Now, people are saying that PvE struggles. I don't think it does. I think there are some things that need to change. For example, supers in Crucible and PvE both take forever to charge now, to do your grenades and stuff. And I think grenades are probably just about right in PvP. Maybe not in PvE, I think they're going to be a bit faster. But certainly supers. Basically, in your average game of Control, you might just get your super by the end of the game. So basically, everyone's using their supers at the very end of the game. And it's like, it's not a game changer if it's right at the end, because it's pretty much decided. And so I think they need to, and I think they're going to. I think enough people complain about that. They're going to tweak the supers a bit so they recharge a bit quicker. But we don't have a clue what, in terms of armor and stuff like that, that might affect those supers, how they charge and everything like that. So there's that to consider, balancing side of things. In terms of having certain weapons like the shotgun and fusion rifles, which were quite dominant sometimes, now as like heavy weapons basically, and ammo you need to pick up rather than just having them all the time, or certainly more common with special, it makes them feel a little bit more rarer and less bullshit than someone who could literally spend the whole game sliding around with a shotgun, which was always bullshit. In terms of multiplayer, you know, the multiplayer itself feels very good, solid, fun. I've had some fucking good games, really good games, and some really awesome moments. Just really good fun. Control is pretty much the same as before, apart from like you don't capture the zones quicker now if you have more than one person. And you just, someone has to be in it and it will capture. Like if you have your whole team there, it's not going to go any quicker. And also at the top now, you get to see like all the scores at the top. You get to see who's in the game, if they got their super and stuff like that. It tells you also when people pick up heavy ammo, where they picked it up and what they picked it up for, so you know kind of what to expect. You don't know the actual weapon, but you get a symbol, whether it's a shotgun, rocket launcher, etc., so you know to kind of be prepared for a shotgun possibly running around a corner, because you know where it's come from once you learn the map, definitely. And then finally there's a new mode, Countdown, like I said at the start, which is kind of like Search and Destroy with revives, which is like Search and Rescue actually. They added Search and Rescue in COD, I remembered. So basically, yeah, there's a bomb, you have to plant a bomb and kill the enemy team. If you kill the enemy team, they only have one life unless they revive each other. And if the bomb goes off, obviously, it's all over. If they defuse, it's all over. It's basically like Trials of Cyrus with a bomb mechanic in it, and yeah, it's pretty good fun. Yeah, played a few games of that. some quite tense moments. I think it needs tweaking a little bit. The bomb seems to have a little bit too long of a timer, maybe, in my view, possibly. Maybe it needs to be tightened up a little bit. But other than that, it's a pretty good game mode. I'm looking forward to play that a bit more, certainly on other maps. Because, yeah, in beta you only had 2 maps. Like I said, there was no social area apart from on Sunday evening, which I missed, unfortunately. They opened up the farm, which is like the new social hub area where all the vendors and stuff's going to be. They opened that up briefly for like an hour, although there wasn't any vendors. You could just explore the farm itself, the football and everything in there. I didn't miss it, but some things it's nice to keep to the actual game itself. In terms of what's, like I said, I've mentioned through what's bad, what needs to be fixed. I think the main thing is supers need to be tweaked. They need to be a bit faster because they are a bit too slow. We don't know what the heavy's like for PvE. I'm assuming there's going to be simps you can get and that kind of thing like there is in Destiny 1, because I think having certain things like the snipers, which are bloody good for bosses, restricted to heavy ammo kind of limits them a little bit. And it could become a problem during some boss fights when you can't hit them with a sniper and you have to switch to your primaries and can't rely on a sniper for long range sniping a boss. But at the same time, it does encourage people not to just sit at the back in a cheese spot sniping a boss in the head for half an hour. And that's a sign for multiplayer as well, is it encourages people to get out there and shoot up close and personal a bit more than camping at a distance with a sniper. Certainly for stuff like trials, people aren't going to be able to spawn in with a sniper and just quick scope you across the map the moment you come in. They're going to have to actually get a bit more closer, which is cool. It's going to change trials quite a lot, because trials is quite often who can get in a good position with a sniper first. It's going to change to, well, who's a better player up close and personal. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that plays out down the line, and whether that balance is right, who knows. I mean, that's the point of a beta, is they need to test things how they work, and they're already tweaking stuff. They've said that. In fact, I think they said that since the beta build was approved and went on like servers and stuff to get downloaded by people on, you know, PSN and everything, I think since that build went up, they've already made changes and tweaks, and they're going to make even more based on the beta. So I have pretty good hopes and, you know, hype for this. I love Destiny. I absolutely love Destiny. I think it's probably one of my favourite games of this console generation, and I'm really hyped for the next one. And fingers crossed, from what I've seen from the beta, it's promising. I think a few things need to change, and I think if they get them right, it's going to be a pretty good experience. So yeah, that's my impression on the Destiny 2 beta. Thank you for joining me, guys. Like I said, not as many videos so often. I'm going to save them for more things like this. So you're not getting overburdened with just content that isn't necessarily interesting. I hope I've been informative. I didn't go into too much detail about the classes overall. There's a lot more stuff about the classes that I didn't go into, and there's a lot of stuff to do with stats, the weapons, stuff like that. There's mods and stuff on weapons and loads more stuff like that. I'm not going to go into specifics of that. That's not what my channel's about. This is just like a general impression. There's loads of channels out there that do that kind of thing. Check them out. And yeah, thank you for tuning in my video if you did, and I will probably be covering Destiny 2 when it comes out in some form. I'll probably be doing just some gameplay of like the opening hours and stuff like that on the channel. So thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.